What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another video. As the season is coming to a close, I thought I would do a video today where we talk about Mikel Arteta, the manager of Arsenal. Divides opinion. He's always a topic of conversation. Some people are massive fans of him. Some people think he's taken Arsenal as far as he can. And some people are just waiting to see what happens. So I want to know your thoughts, where he is, what needs to happen moving forward. Is it a case of get him the striker, get him the left winger, get him the midfielder, and he will get Arsenal over the finish line? Or is he simply not good enough? Is he the Brendan Rodgers before the Jurgen Klopp that maybe builds the foundations but doesn't necessarily get you over the finish line? Before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. I want you to get in the comments and discuss this and tell me what you think about Mikel Arteta. I think every Arsenal fan can see the progression that we've made since he's been here. But it feels to me now like we're hitting the ceiling and we're not able to get across that finish line and win those major trophies. But we're going to discuss it. So let's go back to obviously when Mikel Arteta was brought in. And he seems to have this cult-like following, Mikel Arteta. It's, you know, you say anything criticising him online, people will jump in the comments straight away and defend him like I've never seen of any Arsenal manager. I understood it with Arsene Wenger, who was an icon of the football club. And you could understand it if Mikel Arteta was a footballing icon as a player. If it was one of these two, Thierry or Dennis Bergkamp, you would understand it because you would say, right, they loved him so much as a player. They're so desperate for him to do well as a manager. But as a player, let's be honest, he was an okay player at Arsenal, nothing special. So it's not like he had this huge fan base from when he was a player. He went to Man City, obviously was coaching with Pep, comes back to Arsenal, never managed at a club before. It's a big risk. But the Arsenal fan base was divided. But I think what happened is when Arsene Wenger left this football club, it fractured the fan base because a lot of fans felt that Arsene Wenger was past his best and needed to go. And a lot of fans were very unhappy about Arsene Wenger leaving and the way that he was leaving the club. Protests outside the stadium, fans fighting, fans holding up banners. It felt like a legend was being pushed out of the door, and it wasn't probably the right way of it happening. But maybe he wouldn't have left the club if the fans didn't apply pressure like that. But it was a very sad way of seeing him go. But Arsene Wenger he left a shadow over the football club. And I think the next manager who came in, who was Unai Emery, he was never going to have the full support of the fan base because a large percentage of that fan base felt that Wenger should have still been at the football club. So as soon as things became difficult for Emery at the end of that first season, didn't get top four when he should have, got battered in Baku, the fans started to turn on him, and very quickly he lost the fan base. The language barrier made it difficult for him to communicate and sort of build that bond with the fans, and he was gone. So now the Wenger fans had got what they wanted. Emery had gone. Now we're back to square one. Arteta gets the job. Remember, they wanted to give Arteta the job when Wenger left. They got cold feet. They weren't sure whether he was ready. Now they were going to go for him. Now all those Wenger fans were going to support Mikel Arteta. Arteta wins an FA Cup in the first 6 months and convinces Aubameyang, who's the best player at the time, to sign a new contract. So now we're all going, we can support this. We've won a trophy. It's a great feeling. Remember, we were during lockdown. It gave us all something to really believe in. And then things unravelled. Full season at the club, first full season, finishes 8th. Fallout with Aubameyang not long after that. Signings weren't really working. And it didn't feel like we were going anywhere. And people felt like he was the wrong manager for the club. We lose to Emery in a Europa League semi-final. There was a lot of embarrassment. Conte turns up at Tottenham, grabs top 4 offers in 6 months. Are we moving in the right direction under this manager? Then we see light at the end of the tunnel. Out of nowhere, bang, top 4, title challenge, 8 points clear. Looking like we're going to win the league. Saliba's injury derails the season. We signed Kivior in January. He's not good enough, or according to the manager, he wasn't ready to step into the first team. So Holding was left with that responsibility. We lost the title. Disappointment, but at least we held our heads up high that season and did something that we could think, okay, we're going to build. £200 million transfer window. You think this is our year. Rice, Havertz, Timber, Rail. We should have won the league last season, in my opinion. I said the day that we signed Kai Havertz, that is the worst signing that Mikel Arteta will make at this football club. Not because he's the worst player, but because you spent 65 million, you gave him a 5-year deal, and you made him the highest paid player at the football club, and he's not even in good form. Chelsea were more than happy to get rid of him and get him off their books. So now we're in a situation where we've got a player that came in, didn't do well in midfield, did reasonably well up front, but even that unravelled. He missed big chances and now he's injured, just come back from injury. Now you've got a player that you're probably going to have stuck on your books for the whole 5 years of that contract. Now you've also got a situation where every player that wants a new deal, especially our best players, are going to go, well, Havertz on 275, so I need at least that or more because I'm better than him. So I think that deal created a big problem. Last season, I think we'd have won the title if we'd have signed a prolific goal scorer instead of Havertz. Games against West Ham, Aston Villa, Fulham, those games cost us the league title, and I think a striker would have got us over the finish line. Very disappointing. Also, as I'm talking about titles and getting back in the Champions League, we're getting knocked out of the FA Cup left, right and centre. The trophy that actually gave him enough credit in the bank to continue as manager. We're losing to Southampton, Nottingham Forest, all these teams knocking us out. Liverpool with half of their youth team playing, and Manchester United this season with 10 men on the pitch at home. So we then go to this season. The summer transfer window was never good enough. I said all summer Arsenal needed a striker. Arsenal staff members were saying on the US tour, but Havertz finished the season well. They backed Havertz. They thought he was going to be the 20-goal striker this season. He wasn't. He wasn't good enough. He wasn't prolific enough. It unravelled. In January, everyone realised we do need a striker now. Jesus and Havertz are injured, but they weren't good enough anyway, even when they were fit and available. We could have panic buyed Watkins. We didn't panic bought Watkins. We didn't get that deal done. We didn't do anything. The season's unravelled again. Trophyless. Champions League run was definitely something to be proud of, but still disappointing. After beating Real Madrid, Liverpool are out, Man City are out, Bayern Munich are out, that we weren't able to get past PSG. I want to make it abundantly clear. This isn't a 10-15 minute video of me just hammering the negatives of Mikel Arteta. He's definitely brought us back to a place where we're challenging. He's got us in a situation now where I think a lot of top players would come to Arsenal, where we were struggling to convince certain players a few years ago. Remember the Vlahovic story of his agent apparently ignoring phone calls. I'm pretty sure Vlahovic would come to Arsenal at this stage now. So he's definitely lifted the level that we're at. However, the situation we're in now and the scenario we're in now is progression, yes. Success, no. Arsenal, one of the biggest football clubs in this country. Most people say the third biggest after United and Liverpool. Now, I said this on a stream a few days ago. If you're going to act like a lion in the jungle, I'm one of the biggest and baddest. You've got to act like it when somebody makes you act like it. So you can't be a lion, but then start acting like a little kitten when it comes to the fight for trophies. Oh, we're the Arsenal, the famous Arsenal, Thierry, Dennis Bergkamp, Vieira, Tony Adams. Okay, where's your trophies? Oh, but we haven't got the money of City and Chelsea and we can't compete and we don't buy superstars, we create them and it's the Arsenal way. The Arsenal way should be to be successful and hopefully play good football along the way. At times this season, our football's been very boring, very methodical. Individual talent seems to be suffocated. It is a system-based style that does work great at times, as we saw against Real Madrid and Manchester City. But at times, especially at home against low blocks, we've suffered and struggled. Players' form has dropped 2 years ago. Odegaard, one of the best attacking midfielders in the league, looks a shadow of himself this season. Martinelli, 15 goals 2 seasons ago. Runs with his head down most of the time with very little end product. Why are these players not improving? Havertz signed to replace Xhaka. Marino signed to replace Xhaka. In the end, Declan Rice, the number 6, is now the Granit Xhaka replacement. It looks like Zubimendi will go into the number 6 role. So is it as simple as get him Gyökeres, get him Rodrigo, get him Zubimendi, Arsenal win the league? Is that what happens next season? Is it personnel that is costing Mikel Arteta winning the Champions League or the Premier League? Or is this now a bigger problem than just purely recruiting 2 or 3 players to get us over the finish line? The rest of the league won't sit still while we go and sign players. Liverpool are on the verge of signing 2 fullbacks before the end of May in Kerkez and Frimpong. City are being linked with big players in this transfer window. The league is going to get more difficult next season to win. Have we missed that window of opportunity? 2 years going head-to-head with City, we couldn't get past them. But it was Pep. They had the money. They had Haaland. They had De Bruyne. Were they just too good for us? They fell off this season. They're battling for top 4. They're trophyless. Surely this was Arsenal's time to be successful. Liverpool came in and stole the march on us under Arne Slot. Tactical decisions, putting Gravenberch in the 6th role, got them over the finish line. But the difference is that star quality in Salah. He wins Liverpool games that are on the edge. We don't quite have a player that wins us enough tight games. Think about how many times Henry, Aubameyang, Van Persie, how many times Alexis Sanchez, these guys won us games that look like it might end up as a draw or a defeat. Individual brilliance is not necessarily thriving in this team. Do we need more individual brilliance? I think we all do. But can Arteta manage individual brilliance? Can he handle the ego and the personality that often comes with those players? Van Persie was difficult to manage. So was Alexis. So was Aubameyang. So was Henry. So was Anelka. These guys are not just well-behaved nice guys. They've got egos. They've got attitude. But big managers handle egos and attitudes like Wenger did, like Mourinho did, like Pep, like Sir Alex Ferguson, like Antonio Conte. So is he the right man moving forward? And why are this cult-like following defending him so much? Why is challenging seen as enough for Arsenal? Why is that? Because he's taken us from 8th and got us to 2nd, why is it seen as long as we're competing, this cult-like following will continue to support what he's doing? They always say in life and in sport, build from a position of strength. Don't wait until it's a crisis to do something to fix it. And this is my concern. Will Arsenal get rid of Arteta when we start falling down that ladder, when things start going wrong, when seats are left empty? If Saliba goes to Real Madrid, if Arsenal finish outside of the top 4, will they then act and say, okay, now it's time to get rid of him? Then the new manager has to do a rescue mission and you're putting him back 2 or 3 years. There's no doubt Arteta has progressed us, but is he able to get us over the finish line? After winning the FA Cup in his first season, Arsenal have not made another cup final. In Arsene Wenger's final 5 years at Arsenal, the 5 years that led to protests and him being pushed out of the door, he had 3 top 4 finishers. He got to 4 cup finals and won 3 of them. 3 FA Cup wins and 1 Carabao Cup final where we lost to Man City. The 3 FA Cup wins against Hull, Aston Villa and Chelsea. So at Wenger's worst, there was still 4 cup finals. There was still 3 trophies. There was still 3 top 4 qualifications in those 5 seasons. He also got to the Europa League semi-final when we lost to Atletico Madrid. So Wenger's worst in terms of silverware is better than Arteta's best at Arsenal in terms of silverware, in terms of those last 5 years and his first 5 years. One was pushed out of the door, even though he was a legend. One is being heralded and celebrated despite winning 1 FA Cup that you could say a lot of that was down to Aubameyang and Emi Martinez. How can this manager that so many people rate so highly win a trophy with a team that was deemed a mess, bad attitudes, egos, and overpaid, how could that team win him an FA Cup? Yet this team that has so much individual quality, Project Youth, trust the process, Phase 5, how can this team not be able to get over the finish line and even win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup since Arteta has spent £750 million? Does it just need tweaking? Rodrigo or a left winger, Gyökeres or a striker, Zubimendi in the six. Is that what he's lacking, or is there a mentality issue with Mikel Arteta? Now, Arsenal have regressed this season. They've regressed. They're going to finish around 15 points behind their points tally of last season. They're 20 plus goals down on last season as well. They do have the best defence in the league in terms of goals conceded. But something is missing in this squad. Is it the players or is it the manager? Now, I think Arsene Wenger created this feeling that top four was a trophy. He said it. He made it look like competing was enough at Arsenal. And I think over those years, the standards of the fan base dropped. Now we're in a situation where we've got to lift those standards again and say, right, we've been patient. Arteta said be patient for trophies. Haven't we waited long enough? 5 years since an FA Cup. Arsene Wenger planted that seed that competing was enough to make the Arsenal fans happy. Now we're trying to lift that standard again and say, listen, he's had enough time to build his squad. He's had enough money. He's recruited 31 new players. Now it's win or get the P45 and give this team to another manager that has won trophies before. People said Conte was washed up after Tottenham. He's on the verge of winning Serie A with Napoli after losing Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, his two best attacking players. Top managers win trophies. Simone Inzaghi, 2 Champions League finals, 1 Serie A. Antonio Conte has won Serie A. He's won the Premier League. Zidane's won 3 Champions Leagues. Mancini's won the Prem. He's won Serie A. Simeone has been in Champions League finals and won La Liga. There is plenty of managers out there. Don't be afraid of this narrative that who are we going to get if he goes. However, as we round up people, Arteta will be at Arsenal next season. What does he need to do? He needs to allow that front three to play on the front foot. We need more creativity in this team. You cannot rely solely on Martin Odegaard. You need to get another creative player in. You need to allow players like Waneri to play more, express themselves. Saka, higher up the pitch. Let's get him scoring more goals. New left winger, new striker. And let's be a more attacking force next season. That is the way you are going to win trophies at this club. If you don't, I think even the biggest of Arteta fans next season will be saying, enough is enough. This club has to win silverware. Listen, people, thought I'd make this video. Big up to everyone who's tuned in all the way to the end. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get in the comments. I want to know your thoughts about Arteta. Give me details. As I said, there's a narrative that Arteta picked us up from such a terrible situation. Now, we were struggling, but we'd finished 5th and got to a Europa League final the season before. We'd started the next season in a slow manner, of course, which is why he got the job. But for me now, progress, yes, success needs to happen next. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is Arteta the right man to take Arsenal forward? Has he reached the end in terms of can he get past the finish line and win trophies? Would you move him on? What does he need to do next season when he's here to enable Arsenal to win trophies? Let me know in the comments, people. And I'll see you all next time, people. Bless.